keep it going. Please put your hands together for Madelein Smith. Thank you for my theme song. It's me, Madelein Smith. I'm so excited to be here. Give it up for Kyle and the Symposium. This is an amazing venue. Have you guys been here before? Okay. I don't know why, there was nowhere to go with that question, so I'm glad that I made it awkward. I'm so glad to see you all. I'm back in New York City. I was on the road for a little bit. I was doing college gigs in the Midwest. Don't ever clap for that, thank you. Which is a cool thing to do if you hate yourself. Which is not against the Midwest. Are you from there?
I am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
How do you feel about it?
I'm with you.
I'm not trying to shit on the Midwest. I think it's great. I had a really good. Oh no, should I leave? I'm sorry. No, it was great. I did love it. There's just this thing there where I was in Minnesota and everyone was like, "We're Minnesota nice. We're Minnesota nice," which is nice in the way that a serial killer is nice. You're like, I'm gonna be murdered at least. I was doing colleges. I was on the road with a male comedian. Thank you. That's how I felt too. I felt like, oh no, the whole time. Thank you. He had a lot of thoughts and opinions. I know, crazy for a man. Crazy for a man to state his opinions. He had a lot of thoughts and opinions, and on our first night, they put us in the same hotel room. Very sensual, thank you. And this is what he said to break the ice. He said, if I was your husband, I would never allow you to go on the road with a man. I know. And I was like, if I was your wife, I would kill myself. And then we spent an awkward hour watching ESPN. I love my life. Happy birthday, Susan B. Anthony. It's her birthday today. Thank you for clapping. She's dead. So I'm going to talk about her a little bit here tonight. I'm a comic. I'm from Rochester, New York originally. Do you guys know Rochester, upstate? Anybody? Yeah, it's a pretty cool place. It's a really cool city. It has a lot of history, a lot of historical figures. We have Susan B. Anthony. We have Frederick Douglass. We have garbage plates. So a plate full of garbage. Thank you. Have you guys heard of garbage plates? Let's not talk about it. It's food that we eat and then we shit our pants, and that's what Rochester's known for. So anyway, I'm from Rochester originally. Rochester was the home of Susan B. Anthony, who we all know and love, maybe. She's a little problematic, but we'll get into that. I had a really cool experience because during the election last year, I was still living in Rochester, and there was this really cool thing that happened where all these women, millions isn't kind of extreme, there weren't millions, but hundreds of women went to Mount Hope Cemetery in Rochester, New York to put our I voted stickers on Susan B. Anthony's grave. And we had to wait for hours, and we were like, oh my God. So I was there with my friends, we were waiting, and we were all like, tomorrow morning, we'll have our first female president. Should I kill myself? No. And then as we were waiting in line, we were saying, and then my friends and I were there, and we looked over to the side, and there were these two little boys like dancing on Susan B. Anthony's grave. And we were like, this is a grim foreshadowing. Is it not? But it made me think about Susan B. Anthony, and I was like, you know what, I'm interested in what she's done. I'm really interested in her. And then after the unspeakable, horrible tragedy happened, then I went to Seneca Falls, which is an hour away from Rochester, really cool place, home of Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And they asked my friends and I to perform in the church, stand up in the church where Elizabeth Cady Stanton had given the Declaration of Sentiments. And we were like, this is amazing. And then we got there and they were like, hey, just so you know, this is government funded, so don't talk shit about Trump. And I was like, why am I here? why am I here? But it was amazing. It was so cool to be there. And it made me think about Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony. And we were there, and there was a woman dressed up as Elizabeth Cady Stanton. And my friend said to her, hey, are the rumors true that Susan B. Anthony fucked Elizabeth Cady Stanton? And I was like, there's rumors? Let's say that? So I Googled it, and I Googled their two names, and the first thing to come up was, were Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony married? And I was like, clearly people don't understand marriage laws in America. They were certainly not married, but they worked together, and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, she was married to a man, she had 7 kids, that's kind of what they were fighting against. And most historians, when they look back, they have a tendency to try to make everything heterosexual. So they were like, oh, you know, Susan B. Anthony would just write these letters saying that women were her lovers, inviting women into bed with her, doing all this shit. Those were just her gal pals, you know? Those were just her friends. So I was like, I don't think so, bitch. Like, Elizabeth Cady Stanton and Susan B. Anthony worked really well together. Elizabeth Cady Stanton was the brains of the operation, and Susan B. Anthony was the fire starter. And she would go out and she would give speeches. And Stanton's husband was actually a pretty cool dude. He was down with the cause, surprisingly. And this is his direct quote. He said, Susan stirred the pudding. Elizabeth stirred up Susan. And then Susan stirs up the world. It sounds very fucking sensual to me. It was reported, however, that Susan could be a real ball buster. In fact, when Elizabeth Cady Stanton arrived one time at a very important meeting, she hadn't written her speech yet, and Susan locked her into the hotel room and was like, you can't come out till you finish. So she sounded like a real husband to me. At Susan B. Anthony's 70th birthday party, Elizabeth Cady Stanton gave a speech where she said, well, as all women, we are supposed to be under the thumb of some man, but I prefer a tyrant of my own sex. And we're like, we know who you're talking about, bitch. They were really great. They were a great couple. Not couple, but they may have been in love. I don't really know. Basically, I gotta sum it up and say, it seems like Susan B. Anthony was a lesbian. Elizabeth Cady Stanton, we're unsure. But what I will say to end my story is that in Rochester, I went on a tour of Susan B. Anthony's house. And we saw the whole thing. We're like, oh, this is where the magic happens. You know, it's really cool. We had a female tour guide. It was a very amazing moment. And then right at the end of the tour, this foreign woman said, oh, could you tell me, why were women treated so bad in America? And the tour guide like stared at her, and I was like, do you have 45 hours? Like, I don't have time to explain this to you. But anyway, my time's up. Thank you guys. I'm Madelein Smith. Thanks very much.